in their old age, they will be fruitful. Psalm 92 verse 14. In the end, it's not the years in your life that count. It's the life in your years. Abraham Lincoln. Life is a gift, and getting the chance to celebrate it is a blessing. But attaining 80, like Pa Ayodele Sunday Owoborode celebrates today, is no mean feat. It is an incredible milestone, worthy of recognition and appreciation. Pa Owoborode is an icon, the epitome of knowledge, and a man of many brilliant parts. Born in the 40s in Otukpo, Benue State, to an Idoma mother and an Ijesha father, he grew up in several parts of Nigeria after leaving his hometown at a very young age to live in Auchi with his elder brother, David Owoborode, whose profession took him around the country.
I was born to a home of a father who is Ijesha, and my mother who is Idoma in Benue State. And my parents were busy trades people. My papa was Oshomalo, and we thank God for his life, and thank God, Lord, for the life of my mother, who, despite language problems, got married and had a very, very successful marriage. I had to leave Otukpo to go and live with my senior brother, Mr. David Owoborode, who was the first son of my father, the first child. So he had to mentor me. So at age 7, I lived with him in a place called Auchi, present-day Edo State. He was a civil servant, and because of that, his career meant that he could be transferred anywhere, anytime. As a result of that, we lived in Oyo, we lived in Enugu, we lived in Lagos, and each of these places I had to attend school. So I had the privilege of traveling around Nigeria and mixing with people of diverse cultures. And I think that helped me a lot, knowing who Nigerians are. And I feel at home in every part of the country. Eventually, I found myself in school in Ilesha, secondary school. From there to Lagos, where I had my HSC Igbobi College. And after my A-levels, there I traveled abroad to study. Talking about my life, I will never ever forget my mentor, who trained me, who mentored me. He happens to be the first son of my father, by name David Owoborode. And by God's grace, I also have one of his sons, Omolu here, who also have been mentored through my grace and God's grace.
Mr. Ayo Owoborode is my uncle, is my father, and I happen to be his de facto first son, first child, because from the age of 6 or 7, I have been living with him till I got married. He trained me through primary school, secondary school, and the higher institution. I lived with him, with many of my cousins, whom he trained together in his home. I remember we lived at Mushin, Iwaya, and Mangoro. where we all got to school. After school, we got married. He's very perfect. He's a man who believes in perfection in things he does. He's very highly disciplined. He believes that things must be done according to how it should be done. Very nice man. He never allows us to lack anything. And I remember in his home, everybody is a girl or a boy, because whatever they find on the timetable is what you cook. Wonderful man indeed. And I remember the wife. The wife gave us free hand. He gave us support. He made us see life. And the most important thing that he is good at is being a man who loves God.
I thank God for the way I was brought up by my brother David Ayo Owoborode. He instilled in me the sense of hard work, honesty, and self-discipline. He made it clear that self-discipline is key. Incidentally, he was a military man who served in the British Army. So by the time I was staying with him, he had been discharged from the army. And that disciplined attitude was there. So I will always remember that whatever you do, self-discipline is important. Whatever you do, integrity is key. Whatever you do, remember, God is there to watch over you.
Well, my name is Mowaninola Owoborode ni Akishulire from Ondo Town. I was bred and born in Ondo Town into the house of the Akishulires. And I can say me and my husband were privileged to meet each other. This is God's doing, because we can do nothing without God being having hands in it. Then we thank God for the children that God gave us. I thank God for their life. My husband is a man of principle. He's a decent and well-disciplined man. He's an encourager. He encourages me in so many aspects. Our background, when we've just met, he really finds it tough before he could get me, because as a well-disciplined young girl from Ondo State, and from the home which I come from, it got to a stage that he even nearly fell up and said, "Just go your way. I have nothing to do with you." But I knew what I have, what I wanted for my life. I'm thinking of my future. But at the end, what I wanted to achieve, he too saw it that, yes, this is a well-disciplined lady. He's the first man in my life. And I thank God for that. And he's a man of love. He shows his love in every aspect, to the children and to everyone around him. He's a kind man, and he's a truthful man. He's a man of God. As he has said earlier on, he's a teacher in the church. We do not play with Bible morning service, evening service in this home. We do that all the time. And this is what has been moving us on in this home. We do not have any other thing that we are worshiping than only God. And this is a thing that I would like everyone to emulate. Just face your God and be truthful, be faithful in whom you are worshiping, and the Almighty Father will see us. The Almighty Father will see all of us through.
Pa Owoborode is a perfect example of someone who is a straight arrow to the core because of his penchant for staying true to his words in every sense of the word. He never minces words. Whatever he has to say, he says it as it is, and it always reflects his deep level of wisdom. However, he is a kind soul who has lived a fulfilled, exemplary life and is still going strong, creating legacies that stand the test of time.
As kids, we make different mistakes, but he's always been there, guiding, teaching, and you're never too old. Daddy calls you up, talks to you, asks you those deep questions. What is happening at work? How is your new line of work? What are the opportunities available? How are the kids? Those specifics. He set the family on the right path. And he always does this with so much selflessness.
My name is Femi Ashiwaju. Obviously, I'm an advertising practitioner. I worked with PAL Nigeria Limited, later became Palcoms Limited. I actually succeeded Mr. Ayo Owoborode as chief executive of that company. He was the founding chief executive, and by the time they were retiring, himself and his other colleagues with whom they co-founded the company, Chief Shoetere, late Chief J.T. Popola, late Chief Oluwadare, I succeeded him. I was in the university, and at the time I was considering the path to explore in terms of career. I was pursuing a degree in the English language. So my options: go back to school, take a degree in law, do mass communications. People say you speak well, do broadcast, and all of those options were there. Okay, so I'd seen this man and I'd seen a couple of advertising practitioners here and there. Okay, so I just walked up to the office one day, that's to Palcoms. Pal then had this, and I was going to have a discussion with him. He had asked me to come. Okay, so what do you want to do, young man? Asked me all of the questions. And then he was on his way out. So I wondered where he was going. He just said, okay, so you want to ride with me? And I said, okay, yes, sir. So I went with him. I thought we were just going to be out for a few minutes. Maybe it was, having a breakfast meeting somewhere, because it was in the morning. And from Abule-Oja, we actually set out for Kankan, Badagry. Okay, his sons were in the secondary school then. I think they were in Form 1 or Form 2 then, and we were there. And between Abule-Oja and Kankan, Badagry, maybe a ride then of at least well over an hour then, it was one whole unbroken lecture in marketing communications. As a matter of fact, I came back that day thinking that I'd become a professor in advertising. Okay, that's the type of experience that I've had with him. He was truthful, he's honest, he says the thing as he believes. Sometimes he can be, sometimes it would appear as if it could do this to a fault. In other words, he wouldn't try to be diplomatic. He won't try to, wave language, underplay language. You will say things sometimes as it is. And I know that usually that didn't go well with people. And one other thing, he's a damn good negotiator. When it came to negotiating, the people on the other side didn't like him negotiating, because I used to say to him, Oga is Ijebu Jesha. And people say that Ijebu Oda, Ijesha Osun. So when it comes to money and negotiating, you have to come to him very, very prepared to defend every single kobo that you are going to take off him or off the agency. Very accountable person.
A little after coming together, I discovered that we have shared common relationship in business and profession. In his own case, as an advertising practitioner, and myself as an industrialist. So we are always meeting in different fora. Mr. Ayo Owoborode, from the little that I know of him, is a very disciplined man and very upright. Particularly, these are the characters that actually bosomed our relationship. What I admire in him is the way he carried corporate discipline into family life. He was able to, has this very expansive decision process, which makes you responsible and accountable. And that is what he has used to bring up his children. Although they may be saying at that time, during those days, that daddy is too strict. But then, I'm sure today, if you ask them in their career, it must have been very productive because they must be very disciplined.
On the personal side, he is honest, patient, approachable, reliable, caring, magnanimous, accommodating, and a confidant with pure interest in people's growth, while his professional part is filled with an enviable wealth of knowledge and experience. He is a man of sheer integrity, driven, detailed, organized, well-disciplined, and a man of great wisdom.
I want to thank you for everything you've done for me. If I'm to start giving details, I think I will need about minimum of 1 hour. But to summarize, I thank you for everything you've done. I thank you for encouraging me in my creative writing phase. Thank you for encouraging me to be creative in my thinking. Thank you for encouraging me to keep talking and asking you a lot of questions and insisting on you reading my short novels. No matter how many they were, you read them, you commented on them. I took the corrections. Thank you for everything you've taught me in life. Patience, being prayerful, learning to meditate after every prayer so we can also hear God's words back. Even the saying you always said, right from when I was in nursery school till now, that's something I always use, which was everything you do it well. And that has impacted pretty much every part of my life. Thank you, Daddy. Thank you for being there and being patient.
Everywhere I move to, once I introduce myself, within 2 or 3 people, immediately they hear you are an Owoborode and they ask, is that Mr. Ayo Owoborode? And the expression, the response is always the same. Wow, is it Mr. Ayo Owoborode? How comes? Advertising. He's such a wonderful man. He's such a stickler for details. He's such a professional. He's such a honest, straight arrow, you know. With Mr. Ayo Owoborode, you know where you stand with him at every single point in time. You know, so he has always told us very clearly that your name is so much more important than wealth you accumulate, you know, or, you know, so the kind of relationship you keep with people, what kind of taste does your name leave in their mouth? Each time they think about you, what do they think about? He's always been very particular about making sure his name is stainless, spotless, and I think he's done that very well. You know, so he's been a provider, he's been there for all of us. He's never ever, there's never been anything we needed that we lacked, you know, and that's not just for us, his kids, it's for everybody around him.
He's a father figure to me. He's an advisor, he's a counselor. He's everything. He prays for me. It's a very close, very warm relationship indeed. He's somebody I trust completely, and many decisions I need to take, I consult him first because I trust his judgment.
One of the essential impacts Pa Owoborode has made through his professional life is on the advertising industry in Nigeria. He is learned, smart, a trailblazer in the advertising space. His sheer brilliance was instrumental to his success in challenging the expectorate-dominated advertising agencies back then, such as Lintas, Ogilvy, Benson and Mether, and so on.
So, by 1964, I had to go to England and start schooling. At the end of my studies, came back to Nigeria in 1970, which was shortly after the Civil War. And that Civil War threw up a lot of challenges for Nigerians and the nation as one. By that time, there was an advertising agency which started business. That agency is called Product Promotions Limited, run and owned by Chief Shupo Olagbaju. I stayed in that agency for 2 years. So by the end of 1972, I left that agency. And all along, myself and some of my colleagues in college in England had planned that when we get back to Nigeria, we needed to set up an advertising agency. That idea came into fruition by January 1973. And myself and my colleagues started the company called PAL Limited, which was one of the first indigenous agencies. And also, I think it worth to note that the indigenization decree, which made advertising only available for practice for Nigerians ownership only. So PAL Nigeria Limited eventually became PALCOMS as a company, and we had the privilege of working for quite a number of clients. And then the advertising industry was being restructured, and I was very much involved in the industry politics and industry restructuring that was going on. I had the privilege to serve as the secretary of the Association of Advertising Practitioners in Nigeria, and also served on the Executive Council or committee for several years, until eventually in 1983 I became the president. And my major vision was to ensure that advertising was recognized by law as a profession. And I made that my major objective. We thank God that the military government headed by General Babangida acceded to our application and give us that decree in 1988, which made advertising to be recognized as a profession. So it meant that it's not that anybody can come into advertising and practice. And we thank God that He used me as president with my colleagues on the council then. Some of my colleagues then included Chief Akin Odunsi, and who was my vice president then. And of course, that brought into life the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria, APCON.
My name is Mark Oviagele. I'm a good friend of Ayo Owoborode. I am glad to congratulate Ayo Owoborode on his 80th birthday. I still don't understand how he has managed to keep his boyish looks and cheerful disposition. In fact, you will think he's in between jobs, just left one and then trying to prepare for interviews to enter a second one. Ayo is my good friend. We've been good friends a long, long time. It isn't friendship you measure by the volume of visits we exchanged. No, not at all. But we've always had mutual respect for one another. Ayo is good. He was one of the 2 or 3 people who were trailblazers in the advertising industry in the late 60s, early 70s, because it was a business that was dominated by expatriates. You had Lintas, you had Graham and Gillies, you had Ogilvy, Benson and Mather, you had HCF, Honeyblow, Cox Freeman, I think they were called, and then the other expatriate one in Apapa, where the MD was Kamaruddin Akiodusi. Don't remember the name of the agency now. Yeah, so we had Ayo Owoborode as a trailblazer. We had Dupe Ayinde. We had Oliver Johnson. Then we had a husband and wife outfit. I think they were called the Duke. I hope that is right. But I think the industry will remember Ayo a long, long time because of the wonderful pioneering work he did in the establishment of APCON, that is Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria. He did a lot of jackass work, so to speak, a lot of research, and he followed it right through up until the time of registration.
My name is Dr. Ade Akinde. I'm a fellow of advertising profession. I've been in the industry for about 3-4 decades. Ayo Owoborode, we call him Chief Ayo Owoborode in the industry. He's a senior fellow of the advertising profession. In fact, he's one of the living legends in the profession. Although I didn't work directly with him in his advertising agency, I had cause to work with him at industry level. He was once our president, and I also worked with him at the regulatory arm of the advertising industry. He was one of the founding fathers of APCON, now called ACON. He had contributed so much in the industry, soft-spoken, fatherly, quite understanding, and an ace professional practitioner. Chief is peace-loving, quintessential professional. He loves advertising with all his God, and he loves the industry. He's giving so much, quite level-headed. When I say peace-loving, I was involved with him when we had to settle or reconcile a group that had been feuding for over 10 decades. It was quite worrisome to him. He's a father, quite respected by the young, the old, and everyone.
Mr. Ayo Owoborode happened to get to the pinnacle of his profession, and in that wise became BOT chairman, president of his APCON, AAAN, and on that note, the professional angle, advertising professional angles, gave him so many awards, which was a pinnacle, how do I put it, a career of his career. He got so many accolades from many people. I remember vividly in 1980s, when Babangida was the president of Nigeria, he was working tirelessly to ensuring that advertising profession gets its right place in our country. And because of that, he was rewarded with so many accolades, and so many awards was awarded to him. And we can see so many in his home regularly. And up to tomorrow, they still call him Baba Advertiser, which he will come to give lectures and series of talks about his profession, which he cherished so much.
A revered luminary in Nigerian advertising, he was a co-founder of PAL Nigeria Limited, one of the first indigenous advertising agencies in Nigeria, which later became PAL Communications. He is also a founding father of the Lagos Business Club and a pioneer founder of the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria, APCON, now ACON. He has been recognized with awards for excellence. Most recently, the Lifetime Achievement Awards from the Association of Advertising Agencies of Nigeria, AAAN, and has occupied high seats at different councils.
I want to give credit to some of my colleagues whom we were in business together, as well as quite a number of my professional colleagues in the industry. In my business, I had a good relationship with my partners, Chief Shuretire, Chief Popola, Chief Oluwadare, as well as Chief Oye Adeshina, who was the chairman of the company. Within the industry, I had the privilege of working closely with people like late Sibasa Moemeke of blessed memory. He was the first president of the association, and I served with him on the advertising committee for quite a number of years before Chief Olufalomo took over as the second president. Eventually, I had the privilege to become president of that association. Each time I look back, I know there are quite a number of great Nigerians who have worked tirelessly for the growth of industry and for the interest of Nigeria as a nation, Nigeria as a market. I can't but not remember people like Biodun Shobanjo. I should not forget people like Chris Dohuje, people like Akin Odusi, I mentioned earlier on. You see, and looking back, I feel happy that what we started in the early 70s has resulted in a great achievement by the profession. Today, we have the Advertising Registration Council of Nigeria, which is the council established by law to administer advertising practice in Nigeria. The council, of course, is the highest authority on advertising in Nigeria. Look at after trading to license schools that can teach schools and universities that can teach advertising as a profession, and look after the examination that allows people to go through the mill and become approved as practitioners. It's a major achievement, because I think Nigeria is the only country in the world that has allowed this to happen. Even other economies like the UK, like the US, don't have any organization like that by law. What they do is they depend on self-regulation. So many countries are looking onto Nigeria for development in this area. So I thank God that I had the privilege to be part of all this evolution.
Yes. I'd like in particular to talk about when our agency, Prima Garnet, our group, when we had our issues with our foreign partners, and it was such a big industry issue. We were in court and all that. And he, more than anyone I can remember, gave us the strongest support. He was with us, even though at that time I was also the chairman of APCON, and still working in Prima Garnet. He gave all the support that we needed all the support that helped us to resolve the matter in our favor.
I met Ayo Owoborode sometimes in 1998 when I just joined the association as an accountant. I was privileged to work with him as chairman of several committees. And at that point, our first meeting, if I am right, which I think I am right, was when one of the Promoserve former MD, Mr. Ayo Owoborode, was invited based on the petition then by late Prince Adeosun on the admission of Ayo Owoborode's agency to Triple, and the meeting was called. The way and manner his approach was more of a father. Even his discussion, his narratives, I felt so much in love with it. Immediately after the meeting, I went to him and I greeted him, and since that time, I've not seen him as a boss or my hoga, as they will say. I've seen him more as daddy, because even now, all I call him is daddy, daddy, daddy. I can't remember when I say Mr. Owoborode or Pa Owoborode. It's more of daddy to me. And in the course of working with him, along the line, I was promoted to the executive director position of the association then, meaning that I headed the association and we had to do AGMs. Most of the times he attends those AGMs. I'll need to meet with him, sit down with him. What are the challenges? There are situations where we get to AGM and then there are issues around election, so I always confide in him and he will always give me some guidance. Sometimes he calls me into his room, and which is more of personal and spiritual, and we start praying. We are going into the AGM. Oh yeah, let us pray. So we start praying that we are going into this AGM. God, take control. Those are emotional period, and I go into those business sessions with prayer. I also remember when he was appointed the chairman of the board of trustees of Triple. My relationship with him was also more of fatherly advice, mentorship, leadership, and I remember those periods that even I have to go to his office. You get to daddy's office, you want to talk to him, the first thing is let us pray. I think the spiritual angle to it and everything. I had a midlife crisis that I had to go to him. He will call me every other time. How are you doing? How is the family? How are you coping? Please calm down. This is a period. It will pass away. The thing is beyond somebody working for him.
However, his positive impact goes beyond just the advertising industry or other professional learnings. He is passionate about the plight of people living in poverty, which informed the decision to establish his foundation, the Ayo Owoborode Foundation, coming up later this year. As a devout Christian, he holds key positions in his church, Providence Baptist Church, among others. He is a proper family man. He has a soft spot for family and likes having them around.
It is important to recognize that this family would not be what it is if we had a wife. If I had a wife who was tolerant, he had been patient, understanding, and he bears with me and members of the family, whatever situation we go through. In addition to our trust in God, saying that there's nothing you can do without God, who is our creator. So these are values which we have planted in our children and grandchildren. And we thank God that the size is growing. That is, the size of the family is growing. By extension, the grandchildren Yobani Akinka Omo Funwo Olomo. So we thank God for the numbers. We thank God for the progress so far.
My husband likes taking pictures with me and with the family entirely. We normally take group pictures, And one thing I want to stress, to stress is that my husband said, like, he didn't play with his mom. He didn't play with his mom. He loved his mommy very well. And he likes family being around him all the time. Because when we are still young, before now, the families are always around us. And I'm happy doing that as well. So I think this is one of his characters. He's someone that really like people to be around him, especially the family. He loved the family around him mostly. And I think I thank God for his life in that area. And some of, his most, the food he liked most, I can say is pounded yam. Then, it's now that old age has come in, we prefer eating eba. Energizing him most of the time. That's what he said. So now that's what we have been doing. And we thank God, even at the old age, he's still, the memory is still there. He's still very okay. He's doing fine. My husband doesn't play with food at all when it comes to food. So in the process, I understand him. And I'm trying to do my best in that area.
You are so passionate about your foundation, the Ayo Owoborode Foundation, which will be launching on the 16th of December. And I know that you're going to use this opportunity to touch lives here and thereafter. Even after, by His special grace, we will keep that foundation going. We will keep it going because I know it's something you're really passionate about. And it's about poverty alleviation. It's about uplifting people out of poverty. It's not just giving food, yes, there will be scholarships to be given and all of that, but it's about thinking through problems, thinking through solutions, ways of solving, eradicating poverty. And hopefully, I know that, let me not let the cat out of the bag too much. During the launch, we'll talk more about this. And I know God will bless you. And at the end of the day, Father, you will find heaven.
I remember when I was young, and I think what I can remember most about Daddy growing up is how much and how important education was. He made sure schooling wasn't a problem all through. I want to appreciate him for this, and I believe that has gone a long way in shaping the kind of person I am today.
My name is Ayo Owoborode. I'm the first daughter of Mr. Sunday Ayo Owoborode. And I like to call that name in full because it's the name has opened so many doors for me. It has commanded respect for me. It has helped in so many ways. I'd like to say a few things about my dad. He was the strictest father anyone could have. But the truth is, we thank God for the upbringing He gave us. And then looking back, we're grateful to God for giving him the wisdom and my mom to do the things they did. Thank God we have turned out well. We have turned out really well, and we really thank God. Discipline-wise, we're all doing well. He's a great father. He's a wonderful husband. He's someone that has, anywhere he finds himself, in the society, in the religious sector, in his professional circle, he's someone that commands so much respect. He's blessed with so much wisdom. He's a great Christian. He has instilled a whole lot of discipline in all of us. He has been of very great influence in every aspect of my life. Was it school? Was it marriage? Spiritual? Just name it. Everything a dad should do and advice he did for me. And I thank God because, even to my children these days, there's so many things they say. Grandpa said this, Grandpa said that. And then he has also had that kind of influence he's having a kind of influence on them as well, which is very key for me, and I really appreciate him for that.
My name is Ayo Owoborode, one of the proud sons of our father, Mr. Ayo Owoborode. And I welcome you all to today's celebration of life, celebration of accomplishment of my father, who has had a very distinguished life. As you all know, when the history of advertising in Nigeria will be written, Mr. Sunday Ayo Owoborode would have a very large place in that book. Furthermore, as a family man and father, he has been a wonderful mentor to so many people. So many people have experienced from his tutelage and wisdom.
Daddy, you have been a wonderful father-in-law. You are the daddy. You are everything to someone like me. I appreciate you so much because you are one of the few that one could look up to as an icon. Everything about you is just different. The way you do your things has always been the same. You've been so consistent over time. You're a straightforward man. Borrow, permit me to use what your siblings call you. They call you Brother Sunday. And all of us growing up and being around the family for a while, we know what it means when you hear Brother Sunday. Brother Sunday goes with integrity. He's a straightforward man, he's a street man. Once you hear Brother Sunday, everybody will say Brother Sunday will always tell you the truth. Even on controversial issues, when you ask Brother Sunday, there's always a solution. He's never been amazed with anything. He takes his time. He's always guided by the scripture. He will always put you through. He will tell you that, no, you think what you are going to do, and you think this is the right thing you are doing, you so be it. Pray over it.
Bàbá Owoborode jẹ́ èèyàn tó ní òótọ́, tó ń sòótọ́. Bọ́rọ̀ bá ṣe rí ni wọ́n ṣe máa sọ. Tó bá dẹ̀ sọ fún ẹ, tó bá wùn ẹ́ kó gbọ́, tó bá wùn ẹ́ kó má gbọ́. Bẹ̀tẹ̀ wọ́n rí pé àwọn sọ bí ọ̀rọ̀ ṣe jẹ́. Wọn ò mọ̀ béèyàn ṣe ń ṣe ojú méjì. Olóòótọ́ èèyàn ni wọ́n. Wọ́n dẹ̀ tún jẹ́ ẹni tó ní ìbẹ̀rù Ọlọ́run, tó jẹ́ Kristẹni gidigidi. Tó jẹ́ pé gbogbo ẹni tó bá dẹ̀ bá pàdé, wọ́n á fẹ́ pé kó share ideas wọn nípa Christian views wọn. Wọ́n jẹ́ ẹni tó yẹ pé ó lawọ́. Kò sí ẹni tó bá níṣòro tó bá lọ bá wọn. Tó bá jẹ́ nǹkan tó ní agbára láti ṣe, wọ́n ṣe fonítàn. Mo ní oríṣiríṣi story láti sọ nípa ipa tó ń kó nígbésí ayé mi. Ṣùgbọ́n mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run wípé Ọlọ́run dẹ̀ mi wọ́n sí. Wọ́n wà láyọ̀, wọ́n wà lálàáfíà, a rí ọjọ́ èní. Àdúrà mi ni pé kí Ọlọ́run kó túbọ̀ fún wọn ní ẹ̀mí gígùn. Wọ́n rí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọdún láyé. Wọ́n dẹ̀ fi ara líle àti àlàáfíà kan fi lògbà. Ọlọ́run ní jẹ́ kí a rí ogun àìsàn o. A dúpẹ́ fún àwọn ọmọ aya tọ́lọ́run fi fún wọn. A dẹ̀ dúpẹ́ pé wọn ò ní fojú sunkún ọmọ. Ọmọ náà á jẹ oúnjẹ ọmọ pẹ́ o. Eléyìí ni mo tọrọ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run wípé k'Ọlọ́run bá mi fi jìnkí wọn. A dúpẹ́ fún ẹ̀yin ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ará ẹbí àlejò tó wá bá wa jọyọ̀ lọ́jọ́ èní. Tẹ́ bá dẹ̀ ṣetán tẹ́ ń lọ, Ọlọ́run á wà pẹ̀lú yín o. Ẹ dé láyọ̀ o. Eléyìí ni mo tọrọ.
Ayo Owoborode has been my daddy, has been my mentor, has been my prophet. Right from the beginning of my life, I grew up to witness this. He has been guiding me. He has been doing a lot of things in my life. And I'll continue to appreciate him for all he has been doing. I remember vividly, about 35 years ago or thereabout, when I finished my secondary school, it made me to understand that I need to choose a profession that it will be able to stand the test of time. Not just to put on tie and be working in a bank, but you need to do something. So he was able to see the future about 35 years ago that go, you are a great artist. You are talented, you can draw very well. And it helped me a lot. But that's true that they linked me with great Professor Oshinowo, who happened to be one of the greatest art professors we have in Nigeria today. And that man really encouraged me too, through his link. And because of this, I've met with so many past governors, I've met with so many commissioners that I've worked for. And I thank God where I am today.
A well-loved and well-respected man of principles, Pa Owoborode's life has been blessed with incredible moments, memorable memories, and meaningful impact across both personal and professional parts of his rich life. 80 years and counting.
It has always been my desire to be of assistance to people around you. And that since God has spared you, it shouldn't be just for selfish interest only, but you must impact on the lives of people around you. Incidentally, we decided to set up a foundation to mark the 80th birthday. And that foundation is to cater for the needs of the needy. The Bible says, amongst you, there will be the needy people at different levels of different needs and requirements. So I'm praying that God will help that foundation to impact on society, even after I have gone. I had the privilege to be part of the founding members of Ikeja Business Club. When Mr. Chris Collady was the pioneer president, I served on the council with him and others. And we were able to build the clubhouse in Ikeja. And that club impacted on the businesses in Ikeja. And that's why it was called Ikeja Business Club. As a matter of fact, it was that club that initiated the Eyimbete Summit, which Lagos State has imbibed up to today, which has helped to lay and direct the policies of governments in Lagos State. I think one should also not forget that one was privileged to serve in the church at various levels. Sunday school teacher, a member of the council, today the chairman of the board of trustees of my church, the Providence Baptist Church.
And I cannot do that thanking the family. When I got into the family of Owoborode, they embraced me, they took me like their own daughter. And all of them, as I can say today, we are all living together as a family. I love them, and they show their kindness towards me as well. And this has been keeping us, moving us on as a family.
My name is Bosedi Ashwaju near Owoborode, and the celebrant of today is my big brother, my father. Actually, he's like a father. And I just want to thank him for all he has done in our lives, the siblings. He's a life toucher. I thank you, and I really appreciate you, especially when I lost my husband. You were there for me. you were there. If I look back, you were there for me. If I look front, you were there for me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Mo dọ́dọ̀ Daddy ní 2006. Ó ní mo drive fún wọn. Bàbá dá. Wọ́n dá fún mi gan-an torí wọ́n tọ́jú mi. Wọ́n tọ́jú ọmọ mi. Bàbá kódà mo kọ́gbọ́n lọ́dọ̀ wọn gidigidi. Mo kọ́ ọgbọ́n torí kí n bá drive fún wọn lọ. Bàbá pè mí pé baálẹ̀ bó ṣe di sáré mu yìí ìwọ nìkan ṣe orí rẹ̀ pé o orí wọn tó kù tó ń drive fún títì orí wọn pé o ìwọ ni kò mọ̀ pé èèyàn gidi ni wọ́ má bá ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ drive irú táwọn drive má drive dánfó má drive àwọn mọ́lù ẹ̀ kódà kójú bá ń rọ̀ kí n bá ń lọ mi ò ta mi síyàn láńtítì torí jẹ́ mo dẹ̀ kọ́ gbọ́n gan lọ́dọ̀ Daddy wọ́n tó ṣe orí kan fún mi orí ẹ̀ láyé mi ní gbàgbé wọ́n jíyàwó mi gbé ìgbà tó jíyàwó mi gbé àwọn náà sanwó tí wọ́n ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀ fún mi mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run.
It was nice knowing that someone like him and maybe a couple of others were there as we went through the big challenge with these former foreign partners. I'll never forget this. He played such a crucial role.
Age is simply the number of years the world has been enjoying you, they say. And getting old is like climbing a mountain. You get a little out of breath, but the view is much better. With Pa Ayo Owoborode, the enjoyment has been quite inspiring, and the view is definitely clearer and better for the living legend as he continues to create a legacy worthy of emulation. Long shall he remain a blessing to us all. Take a bow for Pa Ayo Owoborode. Happy 80th birthday, sir.
It is a privilege to have this documentary being produced. And I thank God that He made it possible for me to remain alive to be part of it. I want to thank all of you that are watching or that will watch this documentary. And I hope it will impact on all of you at different levels for different purposes.